Now, let's turn to Australia, because New South Wales has become the last Australian state to decriminalise abortion. The bill overturns more than a 100-year-old law that has been criticised by opponents as archaic. The legislation generated weeks of debate and deeply divided the state's Conservative government. Here's the state's Premier.
It's a very important milestone for New South Wales. We're the last state to pass that important reform. It was carried unanimously in the lower house, and that's what this is about. Conscience votes should bring people together. Everybody should feel free to express their views, and that's what happened.
Well, New South Wales is the most populous state in Australia, with around 8 million people living there. Let's cross over to speak to our reporter Francis Mao, who joins us from Sydney. The state premier said that this was unanimous, but there was a lot of division over this.
There was huge division. We had over 8 weeks of protest, and within her government herself. So we have a female Premier, Gladys Berejiklian, and the Health Minister. They were both in support of the bill. However, Conservative members of the bill voted furiously to try and restrict it and to bring in tighter restrictions. And actually it led to 3 of those really Conservative rebel MPs last week even attempting to stage a leadership coup. They announced very late last night, one day last night, to try and unseat the Premier over the bill. However, that failed. But I guess that shows the extent of the fury in the discussion and how controversial this bill really was, despite it being quite bipartisan in many sense, and having support of 15 co-sponsors across the political spectrum.
So a lot of strength of feeling when it comes to the bill itself. Now, what is allowed? What does it enable?
So this finally moves abortion out of the Crimes Act in New South Wales and puts it in health legislation, rather than putting it as a criminal offence. It allows people to get an abortion of gestation up to 22 weeks. And after 22 weeks, if it has the approval of 2 doctors, an abortion is also available. Abortion has, practically been accessible to women in New South Wales, for the past few decades, but it had technically been illegal under the statute. There were just case law exceptions that allowed women to still be able to have an abortion. But this finally takes it out of statute and makes it something that women can access in a safe and legal way.